Hello and whoa, did you hear that? What the?
I see snap.
Yes, today we are reviewing some Yeat. Honestly, someone who I don't know too much about. I mean, I know of him, and I've heard some of his music here and there as well. I wouldn't say I've been following him all that long, but doing this review, I've gone back and had a listen to some of his albums, and he's kind of impressive, taking a genre that's quite massive in itself and doing a bit extra, blending trap with experimental, incorporating these synth heavy elements, using a lot of distortion and overdrive, which I'll touch on more in a sec. I think his album 2093 stood out way more to me than a lot of his other albums, being super dark, gritty, feeling like a dystopian future. And you hear this with this robotic, more auto-tuned style vocal, and straight away that album sounded way more mature. Thematically, the album explores these futuristic topics, societal excess, all those sorts of topics that occur in life really, set against a backdrop of like materialism and indulgence, drugs, whatever. So his new album, LYFESTYLE, 22 songs lasting at just about over an hour. I want to get this out of the way now. This time around, the distortion heavy bass, while it's a staple in the genre and Yeat himself, you can make something sound processed and distorted without it being so overbearing. His past album 2093 did it so good. I thought he used it really well to elevate not only like bass and certain sounds, but as a world building texture. I don't know, I just prefer it on that album compared to this one. I listen to a lot of heavy electronic music, so I'm not sensitive to it. I just don't think it works all so well in this album. So the opening track, Geek Time. Honestly, I quite enjoyed this one. It has this really abrasive synth loop, clearly distorted, but it sits really nice above the bass. I like how dark this song feels, with these trailing vocals coming in every now and then, acting as like ad-libs. The tone of his vocals even quite husky and nicely textured. From here though, with STFUs, things start to sound a little bit the same. That massive bass and drum patterns not feeling particularly exciting, and the bass is actually drowning out a lot of the rapping and other elements of the track, and this sentiment for me could be carried on to a load of other songs. Heard of Me, You Don't Know Life, on one, They Tell Me, but They Tell Me having this hi-hat that I quite like. It comes in non-stop, it's abrasive, it's quick, and it really sort of adds an extra element to the track. It's simple but feels really intentional and just kind of works for me. I kind of wish there was more variety with the sound. Use a different preset. 808 sound great, but can sound kind of stale if not used wisely. And when there is a mix-up of sound, it's hidden behind this oppressive distortion. And you hear this on songs like Orchestrate or Be Quiet featuring Kodak Black. But saying that, you do have songs with a better balance like Speedball, with this screeching kind of sample that flows in and out of the background. Beat is okay, and you know, it does sound pretty good. But LYFESTYLE at the end of this album sounds almost exactly the same. The same synth or sample that's coming in and out is heard on that track as well. And that's kind of the main issue with this album, is its lack of interest. His flow and melodies and things like this are kind of pretty good actually. Okay, coming on to the second half of the album now, and I think I might prefer the second half, and this starts with Gone for a Minute, using this synth bass with a delay as a kind of percussion and these layers of vocals that build up, creating this really interesting distance between each element, and then this really great use of what sounds like a siren that just comes like splitting through the middle. And then you have the vocals, which I think are utilizing the auto-tune really well here. Even the next song, Forever Again, mixing up the percussion in a nice way, using this snare that sounds way more stunted than normal and a little bit compressed, but still having like a pretty good impact on the overall song. Again, after this with Fly Troop and Eliminate, things start sounding a bit similar, just like the first half of the album. Not necessarily bad, but again, just kind of feeling like the same. Until we get to Lying 5 Fun, something about this bright synth that you can kind of hear in the background. It gives it this interesting melody. It's small, but it really stands out as quite a big thing in the song. yeah, quite interesting. The next song is where things feel a little bit opposite. You have this funkyish bass which sounds nice because it's kind of mixed up from the usual sound, but then you have these overwhelming vocals that are just drenched in reverb, finding it hard to swim through this like mess. But it was partway through when this bass kicked in that I actually started to like this song. Then you have Don Toliver's vocals coming in, and I thought they sounded really good on this track. From here though to the end of the album is where things start to fall off a little bit more for me, varying from good to okay, but nothing really again standing out to me. Then you have the last bonus track on the album, Fate, and actually it's not too bad of a way to end the album. There's a nice lyrical melody going on here, bass sounding better on this track I think, and there's a lot more interesting texture going on here as well. The silent synth that you can kind of just about hear adds this like level of emotion to the song. And then around the 2:20 mark, the build up of noise. It's a harmony of vocals and synth. The beat gets a bit more interesting. It's really got this euphoric feel going on. And then it beautifully fades with this violin or synth. A pretty decent song to end the album on. Okay, being one of my first proper introductions to Yeat, I left feeling slightly disappointed, especially just coming on straight after 2093. So many of the tracks could just blend into one another, and I don't mean it in like a flow, just like they kind of sound the same. Oftentimes the bass, the distortion, the overdriven feel was slightly too much, and in a genre that exalts those types of sounds. But saying that, still there were quite a few decent tracks going on here. Gone for a Minute, Forever Again, Fate. I think this album suffers slightly from being too long. A lot of songs feeling like filler or maybe a bit too rushed, like God Talking Shh. Lyrically it's pretty decent, and the overall production is generally quite good too, if not slightly bland. So yeah, whilst I'm not blown away, I am happy. But saying all of that, I would give this album a 6.5 out of 10. Thank you so much for watching. Did you enjoy it? Let me know below. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, whatever you want, and hopefully catch you on the next one. I appreciate you all very, very much. So thank you and goodbye.